I'm here with Ocean Robbins, and Ocean, I've known for a number of years. Ocean, I think you've been in my mastermind for, it's got to be like 7 years now, I think.
Yeah, just
And
about.
yeah, and I've been watching you grow your business with great admiration, and you with great admiration. And so I just would love to introduce you to our audience. And can you just tell a little bit about your business?
Sure, absolutely. Well, I'm Ocean Robbins, and if my last name sounds familiar, it might be because my grandpa founded Baskin Robbins Ice Cream Company, and my dad, John, rather famously grew up with an ice cream cone-shaped swimming pool in the backyard and was groomed to run the company. But when he was in his early 20s, he said no, and he walked away from a path that was practically paved with gold and ice cream to follow his own rocky road. And he ended up moving with my mom to a little island off the coast of Canada, where they built a one-room log cabin and grew most of their own food and practiced yoga and meditation for hours a day and named their kid Ocean. In time, he went on to become a best-selling author, writing about food and health. And one of his readers ended up being my grandpa, Irv, who wound up crediting my dad's work with saving his life, as he was practically on death's door with diabetes and heart disease and obesity and serious weight issues. He ended up being given a copy of my dad's book by his doctor. Reading it, he gave up ice cream, he gave up sugar, he started eating way less processed foods and animal products and way more vegetables. He reversed all of his conditions and lived 19 more healthy years. So that's a little of the family background. Enter Ocean Robbins. I founded a nonprofit when I was 20. And actually, I'm sorry, when I was 16, and I ran it for 20 years. Let me restate that. And I work with young leaders in 65 countries focused on leadership development. And as I traveled the globe, I kept seeing that everybody eats and that what we're eating is having this massive impact. People all over the world were eating more like Americans, and they were dying more like Americans as waistlines were expanding and hospitals were filling up. People were getting wealthier, but they were also getting fatter and sicker. And so I decided we got to focus on this food issue more. And I ended up joining with my dad in 2012 to launch Food Revolution Network. And our mission is healthy, ethical, sustainable food for all. And after running a nonprofit for 20 years, I really wanted to see if I could be in the social profit space, build a business that would do good and also make a good living to support my special needs twins, to help my parents to retire with dignity, and to be able to scale our impact. In the nonprofit world, you've got to raise money, and raising money and doing good projects are not necessarily connected. In fact, they kind of compete with each other for time and attention. And you can put off the best, slickest marketing brochures in the world, but the work may not be there. But in the for-profit world, if you aren't serving people and adding value to people's lives, you're going to have a tough time running a business unless you're slimy and gross, and none of us want to be that way. So in my experience, there's a way that, if we do good work and we serve people, then they invest in us more, and then we're able to scale and hire more staff and do more good work. So we've had tremendous success in the decade since we launched. We grew from an initial investment of $2,000 to launch our very first Food Revolution Summit with no email list and a few volunteers helping us put together the most funky website in the world. We had 30,000 people register for that first summit and brought in $200,000, and we were off to the races. So Food Revolution Network's been growing ever since, as I've learned about building a team, scaling a mission, building a suite of products, advertising campaigns, affiliate marketing, and so much else. We now have about 30 staff, 700,000 active members in 180 countries. And, our mission is still the same. We want to change the way the world eats. We want to help end heart disease and reverse the diabetes and cancer and obesity epidemics. And we want to help get animals out of factory farms. And we want to contribute to a livable future for humanity with clean air, clean water, healthy topsoil, abundant forest cover, and a stable climate. And we think we can help contribute to all of that with food.
It is a huge mission, and you've built a huge movement. And I want to talk about that in just a few moments, because you've put together this summit. Well, yeah, that's an understatement. You're doing this annual summit that you've been doing for years. It's absolutely huge. But before we get there, I just wanted to talk about one of the things. Talk about, because I think the impact on this is extraordinary, or the impact on the world from this is extraordinary, is the work you're doing with the medical exams and what that is all about.
Well, first, a little personal anecdote. A few years ago, my aunt was diagnosed with a very dangerous form of cancer. She ended up undergoing life-altering surgeries. We really didn't know if she was going to live for quite some time. Thankfully, she made it. She's doing okay now. But never once in her entire medical journey did any of her doctors say a word about food, either for helping her survive chemo, for helping her recover, or for helping her prevent recurrence. This, when we know that 90% of cancers are caused by a combination of diet, lifestyle, and environmental factors. Less than 10% are genetics. So in my view, for a doctor to not know about food is kind of like a firefighter not knowing about water. Food is the foundation of health. We could prevent the majority of heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and Alzheimer's and most of the other major chronic ailments of our times by changing what we eat. And yet we have a medical system that practically ignores it. It treats it like an afterthought. Occasionally a doctor will say, oh yeah, eat better. Good luck with that, and then hand the patient another prescription for pills. And all these pills come with side effects, and then you need other pills to deal with those side effects. The average senior is on 12 prescriptions annually in the United States. So we're no wonder we keep getting fatter and sicker, because we're not paying attention to the foundation of it all, which is the food that we eat. And so, the average physician in all their years of medical school gets less than 20 hours of coursework in nutrition. 20 hours, a couple of days in entire medical training. And most of that is focused on specific nutrient deficiencies and what they cause. They're not even focusing at all on what to eat or how to help patients eat better. And yet most of the drugs and surgeries, that 20% of our GDP in the US that's going to medical system, could be eliminated just by changes in diet. An ounce of prevention is worth a ton of cure in many cases. So we're interested in changing that. And of course, we focus largely on consumer education, but we also want to educate physicians, and we want to change medical school education. So we got into this. We started asking a lot of really smart people, why is it that doctors aren't learning about nutrition in medical school? And of course, some of it is the influence of big pharma, and some of it is, the influence of the junk food industry that doesn't want people to learn about this stuff because it would impact their profits. And there's a lot of lobbyists and so forth. But the other piece that we have to think about is the fact that the medical schools themselves don't actually have incentive, because they teach to the test. So they want their students to graduate, right? And in order to graduate, they've got to pass certain tests that are administered by the National Board of Medical Examiners in order to get their license and become practicing physicians. So out of about 10,000 questions in the question bank from the National Board of Medical Examiners that the medical schools use as a part of their graduation exams, how many do you think were about diet and lifestyle when we looked into this a couple of years ago? Pretty much zero out of 10,000. So of course, medical schools that teach to the test have a massive disincentive to include nutritional curricula, which is why out of all of the medical schools in the United States, only 5 have a single faculty member focused on nutrition out of every medical school in the entire US. So we started looking into this, and we wound up launching a campaign calling on the NBME to include nutrition and lifestyle in their exam questions. And they essentially came back with, well, if you all will create some questions, then we'll look at including them. And so we worked with the American College of Lifestyle Medicine and the American Board of Lifestyle Medicine to create a question bank. And we raised the funds for this to be able to get them to hire qualified personnel to write the questions to add to the bank. And right now, I can tell you, just as a newsflash here, the question bank is done, and it's now being sent out to medical schools across the United States so that they have the option to include it in their exam questions. Next step is to get so many of them to adopt this that they become part of the mandatory portion. About 1,000 of the questions are mandatory, according to the NBME. If we can get that to happen, then we'll go even further. So phase 1 is getting the questions written. Phase 2 is getting them adopted, and phase 3 is getting them mandatory. So we're in that journey working with American College of Lifestyle Medicine. But I just want to point out what the ripples are. This is like an acupuncture point that can send out such an impact, because if medical schools start to be rewarded for teaching nutrition, then of course they'll start teaching nutrition, right? And if they teach nutrition, then doctors will know about nutrition. And if doctors know about nutrition, then some of their patients will start to know about nutrition. And the entire thought about health will shift from a disease symptom-based mentality to a prevention and wellness-based mentality. And as we make that start to happen, we really can start to change the world.
Are you familiar with the idea of trim tabs?
Yes.
This reminds me of a trim tab. And for everyone out there, a trim tab is like on a huge, huge ship, like an ocean-going huge freighter. Turning one of those is an enormous task, and they have a rudder to turn. But when a ship of that magnitude has momentum moving forward, it's difficult to even turn that rudder. And in front of that rudder is it's like a little mini rudder. They call it trim tab, and it's easier to move. And that allows, because of the way fluid dynamics work, that allows the entire rudder to move and turn the ship. And this feels like a trim tab to me.
It does. It does.
You've swum upstream and you said, how can we, we're doing this education, this forward-facing education we're about to talk about. You reach thousands and tens of thousands of people, huge numbers. But then you said, okay, there's this other side. There's the medical side, the medical industry side. What's the trend? How can we start to shift that?
Yeah, absolutely. And another trim tab we're focusing on now is produce prescriptions. So, there's a movement afoot to get doctors to be able to prescribe fruits and vegetables to their patients for certain conditions, along with drugs and surgeries, and have them reimbursed by insurance companies. And there's been some piloting done of this with Kaiser. Tufts University has studied it, and they've concluded that it is a cost-effective intervention for type 2 diabetes and heart disease, among other things. And unlike with drugs, the side effects are all good ones. It's not like you're trading heart disease for cancer. It's like you're actually trading heart disease for feeling you get to feel better, because you lose weight and you fight the same dietary patterns that are good for fighting heart disease are also good for making your brain clearer and your sleep better and your sex life better and helping you have more joy and better mental function and more vitality and more peace of mind and longer life expectancy. So this is really exciting, I think, because it's such a win-win. But if we can truly establish that it's cost effective, then Medicare and the big insurance companies can start to adopt this. And so far, the evidence is very promising. So we're trying to push this forward on a national level.
So, yeah, amazing. Absolutely. Yeah, incredible. And I know, especially for the medical exam, I mean, this is a years-long project you've been working on, years long. Yeah, so very cool.
Thank you.
Cool. Yeah. So you are about to head into your annual, what you called it before we started, this is the largest event ever in the history of the healthy food movement. And each year when you do this summit, it's the largest because it grows every year.
Yeah, Dr. Will Bulsiewicz, who wrote the New York Times bestseller Fiber Fueled, told his email list last year. He said, "This is the Super Bowl of healthy food." So, it is the largest gathering in the history of the world of healthy food lovers, I think. Not that I've been tracking since the dawn of history, but I really can't imagine. We have over 300,000 people coming in this summit. I can't imagine that's ever happened before. Yeah. So it's a big deal, and what we do is my dad, we're still working together, and he interviews 24 of the top food experts on the planet over the course of 9 days. And we broadcast those for free. So everybody can join in and listen for free. And I'm on live. So the interviews are pre-recorded very recently. And then I'm on live between all of them, kind of moderating and welcoming people and answering live questions and giving away prizes. So it creates this really interesting combination of like the extreme quality you can get when you pre-record and get all these incredibly hard to book speakers all in one place at one concentrated time, but also that sort of live experience of watching the comments pouring. And we have so many fans that have been here for years. So there's people writing in like in droves about how their life was saved last year. And 2 years ago, my husband listened to the summit and now he's reversed his diabetes, and all these wonderful heartwarming stories that are just pouring in. as people are learning and getting inspired, and of course spreading the word like crazy. So it's this palpable feeling of connection, which I think, especially in times like we're in now, to have, so many people come together and feel like a place of belonging is powerful. And, we're up against the status quo, a food system that's toxic, So in that context, I think for a bunch of people who are used to feeling a little bit alienated, if they think about healthy food at all, then they're outside the status quo and they can feel left out of things, to suddenly feel like, wow, I get a sense of belonging to this tribe, if you will, of hundreds of thousands of people all over the planet. And suddenly you can feel the way this movement is growing. And it is growing. I mean, since we launched Food Revolution Network 11 years ago, sales of organic, non-GMO, fair trade, local, and plant-based foods have all skyrocketed. I mean, we're just part of this epic transformation, in the way that people are eating and thinking about food. And it's starting to get pretty darn close to mainstream. I mean, like electric cars, which have gone from like a little fringe outlier thing to super mainstream. I think we're seeing the same thing with food. I mean, I was just talking with the CEO of Nestle a little while back, and he was basically saying their business is preparing for the plant-based wave. I mean, they're planning right now to go plant-based across the entire suite of products. Burger King in the UK, their flagship outlet in the UK, is going vegan for a month right now. They're testing it out to see what happens, and they are considering, based on that, potentially adopting vegan restaurants. If certainly they already have vegan options, but vegan restaurants as a new part of their brand, which would be bizarre. You never would have thought you'd see that happening. And I'm not saying that that's going to be healthy or that I'll be eating there, but I am saying that the world's changing fast, and people's interest in this topic is growing rapidly. And I'd like to think we're part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you walk into Walmart and you look at the organic section there, which didn't exist not very long ago, and it's huge now.
That's right.
And yeah, it's crazy. So 300,000 people. Obviously, you're just gearing up. It's just going. As we're recording this, is the first day where people can join it, and it's 100% free.
Yeah.
And we can talk about the business model and how it all works in a little bit, because as you mentioned, this isn't a nonprofit. You're running a for-profit business that does really cool things like fund getting health-based food and health-based questions on medical exams. In any case, so tell me, let's dig a little into, because there's a lot of summits out there, but they're not done at the scale. And there's a lot of summits in all kinds of markets, but they're not done at the scale that you're working at. So can you just talk? And I love the mix of recorded and live, because I'm sure, knowing you, Ocean, for all these years, I know that you edit those so that they're very tight, and and it's not a lot of wandering around. So I know that you take so much care in everything you do. So I know those are edited tightly, but that mix of having it live, how does it, like, how many days is it? You've got 24 experts.
Yeah.
How do you schedule it out?
So it's 9 days. So basically 8 days of 3 interviews a day. Each is about 45 to 50 minutes long. And then I'm on live for 10 or 15 minutes after each interview to kind of interact with the audience, answer questions, etc. And then we have the next one. And it's about a 3-hour total broadcast each day for 8 days. And then on day 9, we have a finale where it's just my dad and I for an hour. And then I'm on a little before and after that. We have Paul McCartney welcoming us this year with welcoming words to launch the summit on day 1, which is April 23rd. And then we have some of the top food experts on the planet all in the roster of interviewees. I think we have out of 24 interviewees, 19 are MDs, and over half are New York Times bestselling authors. So these are it's really a who's who of some of the top leaders in the natural health space, who we think are truly deserving of the attention they've gotten. Now, some people get famous and write bestsellers because they come up with, eat nothing but grapefruits for 12 hours and you'll lose weight. And it's like, okay, cool, good for you. If that works for you, great. But there's not a lot of science to back it up, right? but these are people that are based in, tens of thousands of studies published in peer-reviewed medical journals and their own research, and many of them have written dozens of papers published in peer-reviewed journals. So these are really leaders, and we're trying to mass bring the latest science to the mass audience. So the structure is free summit interviews, and then we because it's such a big event, we kind of go further than that. So we have 3 recipes of the day every day that we publish for people who are part of it, so they can make those recipes and enjoy them. And then we have a recipe demo video. So dietitian and recipe developer on our team is up there, Nicole, and she shows you how to make one of those dishes. So it's sort of like a little cooking show as well. And put all that up there, and everyone can listen to the summit broadcasts live or on replay for a day afterwards. And then the next day is the next day. And the only way to own it all for life is to get the empowerment package, which offers people the upsell. I know you already alluded to this, the business model. And this is really the cornerstone of how we and you operate. And I think, you've been such a trailblazer in the world on this, Jeff, because you've really shown that it's possible to sell by offering incredible value to people. And then they're ungrateful and they're indebted, and they trust you, and then they want to go further. So our whole model is based around free resources that are accessible to anybody, that are not just bait and switch, they're life-changing in and of themselves. And there's always a next step. There's always more value to offer, that we can't just give away the farm. And so that next step is for a fee. So in this case, it's lifetime access to the interviews and the transcripts, which come with a table of contents and citations for all the studies that are mentioned. So people can click a link in the transcript and go straight to the medical journal where they learn more about the study. And then they also give a couple $1,000s worth of bonuses from our friends and partners, ebooks and courses and trainings and resources. And people get all that for $67 if they upgrade right when they register, or $97 during the summit. And then it goes to $197 once it's all over. So that's kind of our basic model. And, with 300,000 people in the summit, our expectation based on previous years is 6 or 7% will purchase an empowerment package. And it winds up being a $2 million launch. And that's how we're able to pay all of our 30 staff and all of our affiliate partners, who get half the revenues for their own referrals, and also run ads and so forth. So, it's a big win-win, I think, for the public, for everybody who participates. Because of the way we position it, inviting people to get the empowerment package is always linked to supporting our mission. People don't really ever complain that we're selling anything. They actually apologize if they don't have the money to buy it. They're like, I'm sorry, I can't support you this year. Hopefully next year. Those are the most negative comments we get for the most part, because people are really moved and they're really grateful. And I just love that feeling that we're just getting to give, and we're also getting to run a profitable company at the same time.
Yeah, it's one of the miracles of modern business and the way we do business is, if you have 6%, I mean, roughly 18,000, let's round it up to 20,000 people will buy from you, which is mind blowing to do that, for still a relatively small, like your business, my business, we're still relatively small businesses. To generate that number of paying clients in that time frame is ridiculous. But it's also, that means there's 280,000 people, and you've just made their lives better. And maybe just this much, but you've provided real value to the full 300,000, but 280,000 without even spending a cent, only just giving you, their email address so you can send them the links. It's pretty breathtaking.
Yeah, it really is. And even for our own business model beyond that, once somebody's on our list, we send emails to our list basically every other day. And, some of those are affiliate resources from partners of ours that we think are inspiring, that scratch itches we can't scratch, that meet needs we can't meet. And then we may receive a share of revenues if people do go on to purchase, but they're all things that we really feel good about. And in general, they're also having high integrity and a service orientation, so that's the sort of through line of what people can expect from us and the resources we promote. And then we also have a commitment that at least half of the emails we send our list are pure content. There's no registration, there's no offer, there's no back end. And so that's mostly on our blog, where we have a website. We publish a couple articles every week on food and health topics. And now we're starting to get focused on SEO and getting ranking with Google. And, we have one of the top 100,000 websites on the planet right now in terms of traffic, and that's just steadily growing. So, we're excited about that too, as another medium for, again, offering free resources and then inviting some of those blog readers to opt in and join our list and get to be part of the network with us as well.
Mm-hmm. So before we go any further, I'm going to give a link here. It's foodrevolutionsummit.com.
.org.
.org. And we'll put a link down below the video for you.
Yeah.
Foodrevolutionsummit.org. And you can just go there and get all of this for free. And feel free to watch how Ocean does this, because one of the things, he is a very data-driven guy. How many times has he mentioned science here and studies? And that's what I love, because in this topic, it's really easy to go sort of woo-woo, which I really don't have a big problem with, but you are so science-based.
Yeah.
And one of the ways that focus carries over is the amount of testing in your marketing that you do. So I invite you, to watch the summit. Go opt in for the summit. Absolutely. foodrevolutionsummit.org. But also, since a lot of times we talk about business and marketing in this channel, you can watch his marketing. One of the things, so first of all, 300,000, it's ridiculous. A lot of people are watching this saying, I can't even conceive of that. And that's my launches, we usually do about 60,000 opt-ins, 40,000 in the low end, 100,000 in the high end. So, you're doing 3 times what I'm doing in a typical launch. So that's primarily partner driven, affiliate driven, joint venture driven. So all those partners are mailing their lists saying, check out this summit. It's awesome. You get all this incredible content. Go get it. So that's for everyone out there wondering how you do this. You spend 10 years nurturing relationships.
Yeah.
With partners.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about that at all?
With affiliate relationships, it's amazing how one meaningful connection, is still paying off 5-10 years later for both sides, and the thing I like about affiliate marketing is it's kind of a great example of a rising tide lifts all boats. If I promote your launch and you promote my launch, we both have a stake in each other's success. We both want each other's launch to go really well, both because then the other person has a bigger list and then they can promote us again. And because obviously we get revenues if their launch converts, right? So there's a lovely symbiosis to that, which helps. When we first started Food Revolution Network, I remember a marketing expert consultant I work with saying, well, who's your competition? I was like, you mean our allies? It's like, who's got the market share you want? And I was like, no, who's got the market share that we can grow with? They're the people we want to work with, not position ourselves in competition to. And I think affiliate marketing creates a beautiful opportunity for that kind of win-win collaboration. So I love that piece. At the same time, I will say we've gotten to a place where if there's going to be 300,000 people in this summit, probably 150,000 of them will already be on our list, whether we drop them there or an affiliate did. And then we'll maybe have another 150,000 that are new. And that's, of course, wonderful for list growth. But then there's also attrition all the time. With 700,000 people, there's going to be, 1,000 people a day dropping off. So we have to constantly have new people coming in. And the affiliate pool isn't big enough anymore to keep us growing. It's a wonderful part of our maintenance strategy at this point. But for our list in particular, we need ads to reach new universes and new audiences. So that's our next sort of nut to crack in FRN, is the ad universe. And I don't just mean Facebook, but also Google and Bing and Yahoo and Pinterest and YouTube and so forth. So we're exploring all those channels and looking at how we have the metrics in place so that we can afford to increase our spend and know what the results are going to be. Of course, the nice thing with ads is if you can get evergreen funnels going, then it's relatively easy from a team perspective. Our team, building a launch like the summit takes like a huge amount of effort. And if you do register at foodrevolutionsummit.org, you'll see how many details are in place. You won't see all the split tests that are going on because you'll only see whatever version you're served. But we run probably 50 split tests over the course of every summit. And then every year we build on all the previous year's winners. So so many details have been worked out with visuals and color aesthetics and colors of buy buttons, and how we handle SMS registration and how we handle segmentation, and all these things have been tested up the kazoo. And then of course we're testing new things every year, new theories. And as a marketer, I like to think that my intuition is pretty good, and sometimes it is, but it's amazing how often I'm wrong too. And
Right.
like, well, I'm sure glad I tested. I'd rather have the data win than have my idea win if my idea is going to lead to worse results. So, split testing is just amazing. We use a visual website optimizer. There's lots of tools out there that you can use, but yeah, it's a good opportunity to just see, how do these people do this, and what do they learn? Because obviously, it's the product of a lot of sweat and labor and testing.
Right. And for anyone watching, I know a lot of the folks watching, you have followings, and if you're interested in promoting this, the Food Revolution Summit, I think the link was, what was it?
Affiliates.foodrevolution.org. It's where you can go to sign up as an affiliate and help spread the word about our work. And whether you want to, email's the best tool for those who have email lists, but certainly social media posts or whatever channels and resources you have. Some folks have just posted blog ads. Some people have put stuff on their YouTube channel. Like, there's all kinds of ways that you can help spread the word about the summit using whatever medium you have. And of course, you get credited for affiliate commissions and all that. So it's a way to help, hopefully bring in some revenues for your work as well.
Yep. And you're helping your following. You're going to help them have healthier lives. And so I'll put that link down below in the description as well. One of the things before we hit the record button, you were talking about how you've built these different, I'm going to call them channels that affiliates can promote. I'm sure you've got an official term for that, but it sounded like first of all, a big investment of time and effort, which means money, but also really innovative how you're doing this and giving your partners a choice of what to mail.
Yeah, one of the challenges we ran into in the early years, we had the Food Revolution Summit, and our partners were like, well, I've already sent 5 emails about the Food Revolution Summit to my list. I love it, but the opens and clicks are going down and the unsubscribes are going up because people are like tired of hearing about the summit. Everyone who's interested in registering for the summit has already done so. And now the other people on the list are getting annoyed, because I keep talking about this. And we were like, well, how can we give people who want to spread the word more ways to do so? So we came up with this idea of what we call alternative entry points. So we have guidebooks or ebooks that are available on different topics, and people can opt in for the guidebook and the summit in tandem. So it's like we have one on heart health, one on immune health, one on guide to going plant-based, one on anti-cancer living, one on brain health. And so you can opt in for any of those guidebooks, which are free. They're like 20, 30-page guidebooks. Some of them come with recipes as well. And they're really just super research-based, impeccably documented guides to the topic at hand and food, how it links to those topics and food. And you can opt in to get that for free. And then you also get free access to the summit. And affiliate partners will mention the summit in their copy, but their focus is on the guidebook. And so then they can have copy about the heart or about immunity or about cancer or whatever. And then, some startling fact from the guidebook, for example, and then go opt in to get this free guidebook and learn all about it. And you'll also get a free pass to the summit. And so now they can send, 10 emails if they want to about the summit, focusing on all the different guidebooks, seeing what their list responds to, sending a follow-up to on opens for the one that their list likes best, promoting the summit at the beginning and then again at the end, close to when we go live. And it's a lovely model. And the key thing is to get it right so that the positioning is such that opt-ins for the guidebook don't feel bait and switch, that now they're going to get 25 emails about a summit they didn't know anything about. So we've got to make sure that they're really partnered in the presentation and the landing page videos and so forth. So they really get the totality that they're opting in for both. But the emphasis on the guidebook gives affiliates a lot more to focus on. And even for us, when we're promoting it, we're literally going to send, I think, 22 emails about the summit between beginning to end, to our entire list of 700,000 people minus registrants. And so the guidebooks give us a lot more opportunities to promote in different and creative ways.
Yeah, that's super cool. That's innovative. I love that. We've been talking since I hope just a couple of weeks ago, I was in a discussion with a lot of entrepreneurs, and one of them mentioned, it's just a long story, but it came to light that almost none of them were building email lists. They're all 100% dependent on social because,
Yeah.
there's this feeling that emails don't work or it's ancient technology. And I think it's clear, anyone watching this to this point, you're very evidence-based, you're very numbers-based, you're testing focused. And what do you think? Is email dead?
Not at all. Snail mail is even arguably making a bit of a comeback because people aren't seeing much. I mean, I think actually one thing that's happened that's been really good for email in recent years is spam filtering. I mean, I think that I don't know if you remember the days when there were Viagra ads and Bill Gates wants to give you $1 million, scams coming into your inbox every 5 minutes. And, that's not happening anymore for the most part because the email service providers have gotten a lot better at cleaning that up. So you never even see most of the spam. And that actually has helped. And then CanSpam has also been good because it's required email senders to have unsubscribe links on every single message and to honor those systems, and so I think that I know we've got internet privacy and other things coming along that will further intensify that. I think all of that means that the actual messages you get in your inbox are ones you want to get, and therefore you're more likely to engage. Now, I know all of us have a gazillion lists we're on that we're like, how the heck did I get on there? Did I really subscribe for that? And they're still sending to me. So it's part of my daily ritual to click unsubscribe at least twice, somehow it keeps coming. And some of those probably I didn't subscribe to, honestly, they got a little overexcited. But, I think that in totality, though, email is still a huge part of communication and it is the best way to drive clicks. I mean, a social media post may reach a lot of people, but the depth of impact is much smaller. You do not control the narrative. With an email, you get to say exactly what you want to say, position it the way you want to position it, and include that super clear link to take action and go further if people want to. And so our whole business is based around clicks, really, at the end of the day. That's the golden standard for, I could say we have 700,000 people on our email list. Well, who really cares? The real question is how many of them are clicking. Opens are a vanity metric that means little now because of the way that email service, providers are handling that. So you may show high open rates, but it just means that it got delivered in some cases. It doesn't necessarily mean they actually read it. But clicks means they actually took action. And so, I think we drive, 1.5 million clicks a year, or I forget the number, something like that. And that's the number that we should be proud of, I think. Those are the people that are really diving in and engaging. And, if you do smart marketing, that doesn't seem to have gone away at all. I mean, our click rate may have dropped a little bit over the last 10 years, but that's partly a product of scale. And just having more people means that they're less our core, most passionate fans, But at the end of the day, it's just hands down the audience you can control. And unlike, say, Google can change their algorithm, and even if you've spent decades building up a massive website, it could get demolished tomorrow because Google just changed some dials, Same with social media. A lot of us built up big Facebook followings a few years ago, and then Facebook just tweaked some dials. And suddenly those of us who had big fan pages reached half as many people overnight, right? Just boom. And now you had to use ads to reach people who before you got to reach for free. So with email, you're not at the mercy of these forces. Sure, theoretically, an email service provider could blacklist you, but if you're sending good content, that shouldn't happen. And so I think it's pretty powerful, as obviously you agree. And I don't think it's going anywhere. There are some younger generation folks who straight up don't use email. And so you need alternative ways as well for reaching folks. SMS is interesting. Every time people opt in for our summit, they also have the option to, enter their text number and subscribe for text alerts. And, it's a small but growing part of our business. I think we now have about 150,000 people subscribed for text messages from us. So roughly a quarter of our total email base is on SMS. And we send out, one text message a week generally. And, a text message is worth about as much as an email in terms of click rates. So if you text 100,000 people, you'll get about as many clicks as you do from emailing 100,000 people. And it's better for show up if you want people to show up for a webinar or a live event, because people are more fast action takers because there's a 90% open rate on texts. So that's something that I think is worth exploring for folks who aren't already doing it. There's a little more or a lot more infrastructure to make it work and some costs involved if you want it to do it right. You ideally have a short code, which costs some real money, maybe $5,000 a year or something. There's some setup. But for anybody who's a, mid-sized and up entrepreneur, it's totally worth it.
Yep. So, can you just, I was just turning over some numbers in my head, like from when that first summit to the current summit, seems like about a 10x growth. It roughly maybe.
Yeah, you're right. We went from 30,000 people in our first summit and 200,000 revenue to about 300,000 and 2 million in revenue. So yeah, 10x.
And you've gone from
in 11 years. Yeah.
It's which is incredible. And you've gone from a team of 30 now. You probably started out just yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So what has that journey been like over 11 years of you'd already run the nonprofit, you already had experiences being a leader, building an organization, but this is some serious scale. What's that been like over those 10 years?
It's been awesome. It's been such a privilege, honestly. I feel like every time I'm preparing for any really big launch or any new undertaking, I have this moment of just this quiet place inside. And it isn't like, oh, I'm so hot, I'm so important, how do I get all pumped up and be big and important? It's actually more of a quiet humility. And what goes through my heart in my quiet moments is I'm willing to be used and I'm willing to be useful. And so it's that willingness that guides me. And I don't have anything to prove. I don't need to be a big and important person. I've made a mark on the world. I'm part of something good and important. And my family's doing well. We're okay. Thankfully, thanks to the success of our work and the investment of so many people, we're being supported. I'm grateful. I'm not out to be a billionaire. I'm not out to, be a pompous big shot. I want to serve. I want to help people not lose their loved ones to heart attacks. I want to help my kids have a climate that's sustainable for future generations. I want to help global food shortages not have to happen, so billions don't have to starve to death in our lifetimes. And so for me, that's what motivates me. And I don't know whether I'm going to be a drop in the bucket or something bigger. And in some ways, honestly, I don't think that's mine to decide. What is mine to decide is, am I willing to cast my lot with the forces of good and healing and integrity on this planet? And I've said, yes, I am. And so for me, that's where it all comes from, is like, I'm willing. And part of that means I get ego out of the way enough to actually show up for what's here for me. As a CEO of a growing company, I actually have to get out of the hero mindset or the feeling that I got to do everything or track everything or be on top of everything. Learning how to let go, learning how to find the right people that are better than I am at things takes a humility, actually. Learning how to trust my team rather than think I know better, and then learn. There's this saying that in the world to come, the learners will inherit the earth, while the learned will find themselves exquisitely prepared for a world that no longer exists. And so in my experience, that's kind of like another way of saying pride goeth before the fall. That when we think we've got it figured out, we stop learning, we stop paying attention, we stop growing, and we set ourselves up for catastrophic failure in many cases, and certainly failure to live into our true potential. So I want to keep learning and growing and asking how I can be of service and how I can be useful. And maybe that'll be on a big scale, maybe it won't be. And who's to say what's right or wrong or what's ultimately better? So that's really the place that I come from, is humility, and then so much gratitude. And every time somebody writes to us or shares with us a story, and I literally hear these almost every day of my life, about lives saved, hope restored, health restored, people feeling better, I just feel so grateful. I don't feel proud, to be honest with you. I don't like, oh, I did this. No, we did this. I got the privilege of being able to be useful for somebody. And that's an incredible blessing.
Amazing. foodrevolutionsummit.org to register. If you have a following, you want to tell your following that, what was that link again?
Affiliates with an S, .foodrevolution.org without the summit. So it's just .foodrevolution.org. And then you can also go to foodrevolution.org/brain for the brain guidebook, /heart for the heart guidebook, /plants for the guide to going plant-based, /cancer for the cancer guidebook, and /immunity for the immunity guidebook. If you want to check out how those funnels are, they're very similar, all of them, but you can kind of see how that works. And yeah, that's how you kind of open the hood and see what's going on in there. Register, see the welcome, see the segmentation process, see the welcome video. There's different versions. There's 30 different versions of our welcome video, depending on when you register and what entry point you come through, not to mention split tests. So, there's a lot going on that you can't necessarily see, but you'll definitely see a lot. And yeah, invite everyone watching to check it out. And more importantly, join the movement.
Yeah. We'll put all those links down below. Thank you so much, Ocean. Any last words or comments? Or
I just want to thank you, Jeff, because being a part of the mastermind that you've created has been so life-changing for me, to have a community of peers. I think when we started, we were about an eighth the size we are now in terms of revenues. And so there's been a lot of growth, and certainly the peer support and learning from you has been critical. And really, in many ways, you are the father of, in my view, a certain branch of online marketing that's service-based, that focuses on building funnels that serve people and inspire people. They enter their name and email, they get incredible life-changing value, and then there's products downstream for people who want to go further and deeper, and that's how the business is built. And that's really what we're doing. Is all of our funnels have that in common. We've got about 12 of them now. Summit is one. We've been focusing on that today because that's kind of what we started with, but we have a lot more going on. And it all has that sort of in its DNA. And in my view, at least from my story arc, you're the one who kind of brought that to the world in a big way. And so thank you, truly.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It's been fantastic to watch you do your work. And I'm excited for you as you head into the summit. So everyone go check it out. You're going to love it. And thanks so much, Ocean.
Thank you.